This is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, and I have immersed myself in trainings and readings and research and reflections. So stay tuned to find out what I learned during the month of Suicide Prevention and Awareness. My name is Jo McRogers, and I invite you to join our Grievolution community by subscribing to this channel and turning on the notifications so that you'll know every time I post a video that explores a different element of grief. Our goal in this Grievolution community is to do grief differently. Suicide generally involves a mountain of grief. And while I've explored that all month through my other videos, today I'm going to share with you 3 things that I have learned immersing myself in reading, research, training, and reflecting about suicide. First, I'd like to share with you a model that I discovered that supports both my personal and professional experiences with suicide. This model is in direct response to the myths that suicide is either selfish or cowardly. Of all the people that I have supported and or cared about who have either died by suicide or have struggled with suicide, selfish and cowardly are never words that I would use to describe these people. Perhaps you feel this is true of your loved ones also. This research comes from a gentleman whose name is T. Joyner, and I will put the link in the description of this video. What his work has discovered is that one of the main drivers of suicidality and suicide risk is a place of a mindset that is called perceived burdenness. Often people who are contemplating suicide or building towards a suicidal act feel as though they have become an incredible burden upon their family, upon their friends, and upon society. They often truly believe that their death is worth more than their life is. They will often have a fixed, unchallengeable belief that their death has more worth and value than their life does for the people around them. This challenges the myth of suicide being a selfish act. The second strong driver for suicidal acts is, again, a fixed belief of not belonging. It is a feeling that individuals do not belong to their family, they do not belong to society, and there's also the future projection that they never will. This belief supports the idea that in their death, they won't be missed or mourned greatly because they are an outlier, because they are not part of any heart connections who would miss them. Well, this is undoubtedly untrue. It is a fixed, stalwart belief that their absence is not going to be a detriment to other people's lives. This driver towards suicide is also not a selfish act. People are honestly convinced that their death will not have a negative impact upon others. The next element to think about and challenge is the myth of cowardliness, that this is an easy way out, that they couldn't stand it, so they took the easy way out. The third thing that I want to share with you around this myth busting is called the capacity for suicide. And the capacity for suicide has several elements within it. One is a strong fearlessness about death. Many people who are considering some suicidal action are not fearful of death. They may have some fixed ideas of where death will take them. They may have the belief that death will ease other people's suffering, it will ease other people's burdens. They may believe, if chronic pain is involved, that at last their body will be at rest. They may believe that they will no longer be a draw on society. They may believe, without any doubt, that their death is the answer. The next important element to consider is a means to access. So if somebody is not fearful of death, then the idea of how they kill themselves doesn't present as a fearful question. They are more invested in being on the other side of the death. Because they are not fearful of it, they now have means and access. So the pathway has been laid out for them. The final element that adds to their risk is a very high pain tolerance. Individuals will often not perceive pain the same way as people who are not contemplating suicide. Their pain tolerance may be very high because there are biomarkers, because they are charged and ready, adrenaline is flowing, hormones are out of whack, and sometimes medications might contribute to a sense of reduced pain sensation. So when these three elements come together, not being fearful of death, having means and access to a method, and having a very high pain tolerance, these do not make for cowardly actions. To have all of these elements come together speaks to a very dedicated resolve to end one's life. This is not an act of cowardice. This is an act often of clear focus, dedication, and the physical ability to see it through. So in summary, what this model holds is to offer to you that someone who you loved who took their own life was not acting in a cowardly or a selfish manner. The research supports that it was a very unselfish act and that it actually took bravery and commitment. I hope that this will offer some small place of comfort or respite from the raging grief that a suicide loss brings. If these thoughts have shared any new perspective on the loss that you may have experienced, please leave a comment below so that we can support one another and explore all questions that are related to how could they have done this? They took the easy way out. Did they not think about me? Suicide is never cowardly, nor is it selfish. The second aspect that I want to share with you of immersing myself in Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month is that it was a tough month. Suicide loss is such an emotionally loaded topic. Again, both personally and professionally and lived experience. What it has served to remind me of throughout the month is the need for self-care. How did I know this? Well, when I found myself weeping at some clip from America's Got Talent, a happy, loving, feel-good story, I realized that my emotions had been building and they were looking for some release. And like most of you, I also didn't know how much I needed that until the tears were flowing and my heart was heavy. So I have reminded myself to care for myself. It means squaring my shoulders and doing hands-on belly breathing. It means wearing my rose quartz crystals. It means more movement. It means more time on my yoga mat. It means more time outside in connecting with nature. It means more time eye-to-eye contact with the people that I love, surrounding myself with like-minded people, cuddling on the floor with my dog, and creating rituals of release with my candles and my smudge and my mantras. Everyone needs to find their own way. Those are my expressions that I used to come to my rescue. Know that it doesn't have to be that way though. If you stay on top of your emotions, you can support them along the way as opposed to feeling like you need to play catch up like I needed to do. The final thought that I wish to leave you with that I learned this month is the acknowledgement of this visceral, primal urge to remind everyone that who you have loved and lost through suicide, their lives were much bigger than their death. Nobody should be judged by their final act. Their lives were far more important than their death. And because of this, they need to be spoken about, they need to be remembered, they need to be honored. And so to Gary and to Irene and to Eugene and to Bart and to Brian and to Jamie and to Big Bill and to Holly, and most recently to Samantha, and to all of those known but unnamed, I offer you kind thoughts, kind words, and a kind heart in this world. You are missed. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.